Welcome to LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education, a podcast that focuses on what is happening in education today, connecting everyone to the movers and shakers that are breaking boundaries in the education arena.
Hello, this is Jamie and Jerry from LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education. How are you today, Jerry?
I am doing great. It's a hot summer day in Kansas, but it's exciting that things are opening up and we're getting out there doing things again. How about you, Jamie? What's going on in your world?
Doing great. We have a nice day here too, but it looks like, are those your new glasses that you got yesterday?
Oh, they are.
I love them.
Yes.
I can see why you were excited.
Yes, they're like 27 layers of birch wood.
They're gorgeous. Very gorgeous.
Thank you, Jamie.
All right. Very exciting. You know, I have been involved in ed camps before, and the energy, just the excitement, people sharing, I just think they are the greatest. But today there's a spin on that, parent camps. So I'm really excited to hear about this today.
Oh, yes. And I think the camp theme kind of brings in things that you are really interested in right now, not other people's topics, right? But so Laura Gilchrist is our guest today. And Laura, I'm trying to think how we met. It was probably at an ed camp. I know we have known each other for years and followed each other online. And I have been in awe of the work that she does because she's really focused on parents. That is an area in education that I think we know is so critical, yet we really haven't found the time to do it effectively. And Laura is one that is doing it effectively, leading the way, breaking some boundaries, if you will, to help districts to connect parents in a meaningful way that parents can really get something out of it. I think parents are tired of just coming to the school and being told what to do. They want to be part of the conversation, and educators want them to as well. So Laura Gilchrist, we welcome you to the show, and we're excited to hear all about Parent Camp. But let's begin by having you tell us a little bit about your background and why you got involved in this work.
Well, first of all, thank you both for this wonderful welcome. Felt so nice just listening to you. I'm super happy to be on your podcast, and I just want to say hi to all the listeners wherever you are, or the people that are watching. Excited to talk about family engagement. This is my passion, family, school, community engagement. So a little bit about me. I'm a teacher at heart. I taught middle schoolers for 20 years.
So did both of us. Yeah.
Of course you did. Yes. So I taught middle schoolers for 20 years, and then I coached instructional coaching high school for 3 years. And now I'm going on year 4 of doing 2 things. So I work with teachers and staff on kind of blended learning and teacher collective efficacy. And then I work as vice president of Parent Camp on family, school, community collective efficacy. That is the ultimate goal, that we're shooting for. So yeah, I taught, and kind of my background was I knew family engagement was important. So we would send home, the team that I was on, we would send home a s'more every single day. And it had pictures, and we put at least, I'd say 20 minutes a day into it, 15 to 20. But it was worth it. The parents loved it. It helped the parents kind of feel like they were at least a fly on the wall, right? And part of what really motivated me was I wanted to know the parents, but I couldn't really. And if I think about it now, I taught 2,000 kids. How many of their parents did I actually know? It should be all of them, right? And not just, conferences are one thing, but those are pretty scripted. Like, people come in, you sit down, and it could be student-led, but there's not time for connection, really. So I was always working on that. I knew that when I was a kid, when my teacher knew my mom or my dad, it felt so good to me. I loved that. I felt more like cradled in a, a connection between home and school. So I always really worked on that. And I felt like it really made a difference for the kids, even that the parents felt more connected. But there was still this disconnect. It was just, there's got to be more than this, because we all want the best for our kids and we're all good people. But somehow it feels like we're at odds with each other. Like we can't collaborate. Like there's fear, right? So that's kind of what drove me. And I knew the connection piece. And so I got involved in ed camps back in 2012, and I started going to them. Then I started organizing them, doing them in schools. And then the parent camp came about with a Voxer group, actually.
Tell us what a Voxer group is for people that don't know.
Great question. Yeah. So Voxer is it's kind of like a walkie-talkie app. It's free and you can hear people's voices whenever you want. So I could leave Jerry or Jamie a message and, just blah, 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 talk. And then you guys can listen whenever you want. And then I can listen and respond back whenever I want. So it kind of keeps the dialogue moving. It keeps things flowing. So you can connect not just over words, because you just can't really connect human to human through text, right? So at least when you have the voice, it's really effective. So we had a Voxer group and we talked all the time, family engagement, and parent camp grew out of that. We had a group, 20 to 30 people back in 2014 in this Voxer group, and parent camp grew out of that. And then the Department of Ed, we did a bunch of them at the Department of Ed, parent camps, and they actually asked us to create parent camp and help schools do this, because they were getting a lot of schools asking for it, right? So that's kind of how we got started. And then, through time and lives and kids and being principals or teachers, two of us took it. We're still in it, and we've run with it. So so I'm vice president of parent camp, and I'm the teacher side. And then Julie Pyle is president of parent camp, and she's the parent side, and she's also a school board member. So she started when her kids were little in parent leadership, got involved in that, just opened the door. And now she's a school board member doing parent camp. And, our mission really is to help bust those silos, help us bust out of those silos and become one team for kids.
Right. I can imagine that the alignment of goals is much stronger when that communication is wide open, because often we work in parallel and we don't have, it's almost like we're fighting each other. But it seems like this is really putting everyone on the same page. It seems wonderful. So, we know how ed camps work, right? There's usually a board, there are topics, that are just kind of, organic, right? And then people can float in and out of rooms. You can start one yourself. How does a parent camp work? Is it similar?
It is similar. So, but it's different. So if you put parents in a room like an ed camp, like an organic ed camp, that's a little too, you need a little more organization with that. So when we train school teams now, family, school, and community, and we train them in both physical and virtual parent camps. But what you do is at the end of every parent camp, we use a tool called Pear Deck. Mm-hmm. Right? That's one of my favorite tech tools. Anyway, so we ask at the end, what do you want to talk about? What are the kind of things that you want to talk about, collaborate on, strengthen in? And then that list that we get from all those people is a running list. So all the topics at future parent camps are always what the people want. They're never, what typically happens is educators shoulders get really worn down, because you're trying to figure out what is it people want to talk about. And then you try to plan it. And then it usually goes flat because, well, it's not what they really wanted. So we've got a mechanism for keep scaling that beyond. And so that every time they show up, you're like, this is what you guys wanted, right?
Right.
So it's so beautiful. It feels good. And when you start, people are like, oh, wow, there's a lot of things I want to go to. So typically we have 3 or 4 rooms, depending on how many people, might have up to 6 rooms. And
Oh, so they're in smaller groups. Yeah. So tell us how it would work if we were a parent coming to parent camp. What would we expect?
Okay, so we'll go with a virtual model. We'll say it's virtually. So you would show up and we're all together in the main room on Zoom, right? And so the first 10 minutes is an intro and where we set the conditions. All right. And we don't allow people in to the middle of the parent camp unless they've been at the beginning. And the reason is the conditions that we have in family engagement right now are not there. We call them compliance conditions, right? So when you're in compliance, you've got a few people with the power and everybody else down here, and you can't see eye to eye, and you have to fight to be heard. You have to, it's like this. So, that model of advocacy is it's almost aggressive. You have to be, because you don't have power. So in the beginning of parent camp, we set the conditions, right? And the conditions are, so our model has got two parts. So it's equality conditions. Okay. And that's what the ed camp, that's what the whole basis of that is. So it's autonomy. You can go to whatever room you want at any time. You can speak at any time. Now, from a compliance model of family engagement, which Julie and I, we said to ourselves, what is the model of family engagement that we all follow? And Julie and I are like scratching our heads. We're like, I don't know. So we've reached out all sorts of parent camps. We're like, hey, what's the name of the family engagement model that you follow? Not one person has ever been able to answer it. It's the, what are some names we've heard? The newsletter and volunteer model, the I don't know model. There's a lot of teaching models, but we've never really had and this is people that are school board members teaching forever, superintendents, well, I don't really know. We just do what we've always done for all these years. So now there's a choice. But so they come in and we go over the conditions, and it's equality conditions. Speak whenever you want, unmute. You don't have to have just one role where you sit back and listen and ask questions at the end, right? So we're bringing all our gifts into this, right? So you might be an encourager, you might be a motivator, you might share ideas. We don't know. Right? But we're all equal for this hour or hour and a half. We have equality conditions. Now, the second part is purpose. And we added this since COVID. We didn't have this before. So this is what allows this model to really spin out family, school, community, collective efficacy. And that is the holy grail in education transformation. So each of the sessions will be either a connect, that's purpose one. Purpose two is strengthen. That's how we can strengthen. It's kind of like parent university, where we can strengthen our family units. We can strengthen ourselves, but it's in the parent camp model of equality conditions. And then the third purpose is collaborate, right? And so this is where you can collaborate around issues that are in your community, around your kids. And that's where we want to go, is actual collaboration. So they come in and we go over the conditions and we show them these are the sessions, right? And we usually have the speakers, not the speakers, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. The facilitators will say, here's my session, here's who I am, right? And so we're like, you can go wherever you want. We have to reiterate. We usually do it 3 times. Go where you want. You're not being rude if you leave a room. Because that's the old model, they're going to think I don't care. They're going to think I don't it's not about the facilitator. It's about connection. That's what this is all about, connection, right? So we set the stage and then they go to their sessions and they can go wherever they want, whenever they want, right? So they do that. They usually don't want the time to end. And then the last 10 minutes, we do a reflection and celebration. So we pull up Pear Deck, and that's where, what was your biggest aha? What you think? And we put those up on the screen. And the power in that is their names are not up there. All right. And the other powerful piece of this is what helps change or design a positive community narrative. Because what happens is people feel so good in the parent camp when they're in the sessions, they feel like their needs are being met for connection and meaning. There's so many more needs than just physical, and physical are very important, but they're a Center for Nonviolent Communication. They have on their website a needs list, and there are 2 columns of connection needs and 1 full column of meaning needs. Right. And so in a parent camp, people get needs met and they feel good. And there's a whole range. When you feel like your needs are met, you have feelings that help you open up and you want to partner with people. And it's good for your resilience and your well-being. So they come back at the end in the final 10 minutes and, what was your aha? What are you feeling right now? And we throw it up on the screen. And it's just positive. And people are like, wow. We really do care. Okay, maybe we are good people. Maybe we can get along, right? And then we ask them, what kind of things do you want to talk about in the future? What do you want to explore, collaborate on? And they give a long list. And we put those up as well. And people see, whoa, like people are like, and they see that. And then the topics the next time are from those lists that we keep building. And typically the first thing that people say is, and they say this from the deepest part, they're like, I'm not alone. That is like, I have goosebumps right now. That need to just know that we're not alone. That is more important than any piece of content he would ever share. Right?
It's eliminating, like you said, it's eliminating those silos and letting people see that we are all in this together. We are not alone in this. And I like the collaboration piece because it sounds like perhaps it doesn't just end at the parent camp. It sounds like people are moving forward with either an action plan or a commitment to something, or, at least having someone to talk to. Is that what you see?
Yeah. So the ideal situation is schools know how to do this. Like they get trained, a team, and then you keep doing a parent camp. You have parent camps. This is different from the old model. You want to do them every 4 to 8 weeks.
I was going to ask how
because
often.
People,
okay.
Right. So if you start I'll give you an example of a very simple collaborations session. And it might be, we want to have the school might say, hey, we've heard people saying that they can't see the communications on their phones right, or there's just people saying this could be better. So we want to make a collaboration room about this because we want to make the best communication plan, right? And we want to do it together.
Critical. Yes.
Right. So this is simple. This isn't even,
right.
So you have that room and people come in, there's a way to facilitate for this, and it's in the training. But you come in and just pitch it out to the room. What's not going well, right? What would you like? And so then, okay, we're going to do something about this. And then we'll have this session again in 6 weeks at our next parent camp, right? And so then they come back in and you're like, here's what we did. What do you think? Oh my gosh, this was great. But, blah, blah, blah. So you keep doing that. Imagine at the end of the year, when you have changed and transformed your communication model with everybody, and they're going, you know what? Parents are going, they listened. I was part of it. This has changed. I was involved, right? And the school's also able to say, oh my gosh, I don't have to sit here and try to guess and, just be focused on getting information out. I'm going to toss this out on Facebook and this out, because that's a drain. It's like, oh my gosh, I got to post it all. But you know what our parents have told us? What we found out in the past year from virtual parent camp every other Wednesday is that parents are like, we don't want more information.
Oh, interesting.
And we're sitting there going, wait a second, because we focus on information, which is transactional, right? We're just giving information. Okay, you go do it. Parents, okay, they do want information, but they only want it in the context of connection.
Right. Absolutely. I have served on a lot of site councils. And that is just give people information. And site council members say, we want to do something. We want to make a difference. We don't want to just sit here and have you feed me some test scores. And I understand that. And so this would be a much better model for a district to have instead of a site council. Do you have site councils, Jamie, in New Jersey?
They're not called that, but we have those sorts of
yes.
organizations.
Yeah. So I could see where this would be so much better. Can you tell us some of the hot topics that emerged over the years?
Let's see, some of the biggest, so when we started back in March of 2020, the biggest hot topic was equity, right? Interesting story about equity was it started out with the device equity and the access equity. Then it moved to like different types of equity, social, emotional equity, like it moved. And then at the end, it went to how can we discuss equity? How can we tackle this in our own schools, right? That was probably an 8 or 9 week arc. And we had tough, I mean, the topics were tough conversations. People came out of that so deeply touched through the dialogue. There was no contention. It was, it was incredible, but I was blown away by how it changed and how it went to, we want to do this in our own schools. And you can do that. So equity was our big one. And then I would say right now, our hottest topic is it's social emotional. It's emotional literacy, and the aha that we're figuring out that came about a month ago was, we got in this conversation, dialogue about the fact that most of us grew up not talking about emotions, not being in touch with it, right? I mean, almost everybody I've talked to, they're all like, what do you mean talk about emotions, right? So we want to honor the emotions and honor the emotions kids are going through, but how can we do that if the adults don't know it? So the big aha was some of this money that's coming up, like it needs to focus on the adults and our emotional literacy, because the kids follow what the adults do. So that was kind of like, we were all like, whoa, wow. It was kind of an
aha for me. I had not considered that, but you are right. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal because our generation that's not, and that's why it's such a big deal right now, because there's such a learning curve, I think, for adults, and hopefully it won't be for our children, for those growing up now. But it's definitely a learning curve for sure.
Oh yes, and I think that classroom teachers also don't feel equipped to deal with all of that. And so they don't want to misstep. And so we just avoid it. But you are so right. That was really an aha moment. Thank you for that.
Well, and that is everybody at a parent camp. Like it didn't come from me. It came from this just wonderful organic dialogue. And that's the beauty of it. You get all these all these people gifts together and the things emerge from it. And that's one of the other pieces. That's one of the hallmark pieces of Parent Camp is it's a dialogue, and it's not a conversation. It's not a discussion, because conversation and go ahead.
Yeah. What's the difference between a dialogue and a conversation?
That is a great question that I didn't know actually for a long time till actually pretty recently. So a dialogue is it's the focus of a dialogue, the purpose is to get everybody's voices out kind of in the center of the circle, and you don't know where it's going to go. You don't know where it's going to go. Okay. So teachers don't do this because as teachers or presenters, we're pacing, we're going to an end point and we're pacing it, right? And we let people talk, right? But we have the power. We are deciding where it ends, and how we pace. Right. So in dialogue, what we talk about in facilitation training is especially people that are used to presenting, we're like, you can kind of have an idea of where you want to go, but be prepared to not go there. You go with the room. Right. And so facilitation training, the facilitation part of virtual parent camp or parent camp is the heart of the model. And it's really where if you're not trained, it's so easy to flip back into where we're in charge and we're not right, but we don't know that we're doing it. And so then the minute we do it though, and we're like, well, we need you to do, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Then the families that are in the room, they're going to get cued to go back into that passive mode. So the facilitation model. So that's why our training, we don't do train the trainer. We work with school teams and district teams. And then we have different, a couple different things ways you can get trained, but you can't just like check the list and go, okay, we're going to facilitate now, because we don't have this dialogue model in our bodies. So all we know is we're going to present, you're going to listen, and then we're going to open it up for conversation. So it was hard for me actually when I started it. I was frightened of it. I was like, I did not teach the dialogue. I don't understand where this is going. I'm a little afraid. Like I was having some anxiety with it. And now I feel much better. So it's helpful when I train people in just to have that perspective. It feels vulnerable. But what they find is that people, when you can lean into those pauses and let the room respond, oh man, it is powerful.
Well, it's just, I think the most important component of this is that just keeping in mind that everyone in this conversation or dialogue, everyone is an equal. And there's a facilitator, I guess, to help, not guide the conversation, but just be there. But everyone is in charge of that conversation and the path that it takes. And I guess what's so nice about it is it does take the burden off of that facilitator or even any school official, because the school official isn't equal to who might be in that meeting, in that dialogue with everyone else. Is that right? So everyone is equal and it takes that burden off. And those conversations can be organic in that way. And authentic.
You just nailed it. You said something. I'm like, I need to write that down, but now I can't think of it. So I'm going to go back and watch this later, listen to it later and be like, quote, Jamie. Yeah, everybody's in charge. That's what you said. Everybody's in charge of the conversation. And I love that. Yes. And so the biggest thing we say is lean into the pauses. I mean, that for me, you're like, oh man, I'm in charge. I've got to make sure that people aren't bored. And so we're used to, at least for me anyway, my perspective was, wow, we don't want it quite a long time because then people, what are people going to think kind of thing. But no, this is the time when it's marinating, right? And people are thinking, and then you just wait a little bit longer. We wait a little bit longer and one person says something. And I've thought to myself many times, what if I had said what was in my brain right now? I would have taken the conversation. So you let the room respond, you go with it. And we talk about it's kind of like a choose your own adventure book as a facilitator. Sometimes I'm going to choose the page number, right? Sometimes, I'll make based on what I see, and sometimes the room will. And usually it just, once you get used to it after once, it feels so good. Like you feel good after it. So once people do it once, they're like, oh, I'll do that again. That was fine. I like it.
Yes. Reminds me of that quote, the smartest person in the room is the room, because it's our collective, like you said, bringing together all of our talents and ideas and backgrounds moves us forward.
And the key is you can try to do that, but from the model that we have in family engagement right now, which is just a compliance model, you will never, ever, ever get connection and collaboration. You can't, because people can't see eye to eye. And there's always going to be this, hey, you're not seeing me. I'm down here and you're not seeing me, right? And so then it's that aggressive advocacy model that you have to do. So when we even the playing field, right? And then have purpose that everybody wants to collaborate on, it changes. That you have to have that. You cannot, that's the thing that we've landed on. You cannot ever get what you need out of the model that we're using right now. And most people, we don't even know the model. Like Julie Pyle and I named it. We named it the compliance model of family engagement because we didn't know, like, what is the model called? And there are models, right? But,
I really wonder if this is helping to alleviate some of those board meetings that we're so familiar with, gangs of angry parents and the community upset about something and complaining that they are not being heard. I mean, that is the biggest complaint. So have you seen a reduction in that?
Great question. So we believe that we will see that schools will see that. So we've trained schools in the physical parent camps in past years, but they keep them going for a little bit, but not beyond, right? And we didn't have our purpose piece at that time. So now we're training schools, and they've done 1 and 2 parent camps. We've been training over the past, since December. And so they're keeping those going. So next year we are expecting that to happen, that once people feel seen, heard, and valued, and they have an actual way to contribute. And I think for me as a parent, I always wanted to contribute, and I felt guilty when I didn't go to all my own kids' things, but I didn't feel like I had any, like it mattered that I went. right? So when people feel that, I mean, that's a great point, that should decline when people feel seen, heard, and valued, and they can contribute.
Right. So many schools since COVID have found out that parent-teacher conferences virtually have been very good, and they've worked very well because parents feel very comfortable being in their own home or their own environment. And many of them are saying they're not going to give that up. Are you seeing that with Parent Camp as well?
Yeah, we are seeing that. And that's one of those gifts of COVID. Looking at the positive side of it is that, people got used to it, and now it's not a big deal. Now, that said, that's for some populations. Some communities don't get on the tech as easily and they as readily. And so that's one of the things we work with school teams about, is reaching out to all segments of, your parents and families, and finding ways to help them get onto it if they don't normally get onto it. Right. So you have some communities, families that are, run right to it, and others that don't so much. So working on that, but overall, it's been it's a pretty easy shift, and I'm so happy to hear that they're doing the virtual, conferences and all that, giving that as a another option, not just going in.
Yes, I think it's great to have it as an option where you could choose either way. The other question I have for you is, what about the typically disenfranchised groups of people? Has it been difficult to get them engaged in Parent Camp?
Well, I have a couple stories. So some of the hot topics that parents want to talk about, it's a tendency from a compliance model. We don't want that to be out there because parents are going to get angry, and it's just going to be like those board meetings, right? And I have seen time after time after time of just parents coming in and being kind of angry, and by the end of it, they're not. Like I've been in a physical one where it was following one of those board meetings, right? It was following one of those, and it was on the same topic. And the room was packed in a circle, right? And I think the people that were leading it were like, "This is doomed," right? And it was not. It was positive conversation, and I heard even two parents in the hall going, "Nobody said anything negative." Right? It was actually useful conversation. So there's something about when everybody has the freedom to speak, everybody's trusted, everybody's an equal, there's some kind of a mechanism. People just don't start that. Like, we ask at the end of every virtual parent camp, did you feel seen, heard, and valued? And we have 1,000 responses over the past year. And I think we have a handful of disagrees. So we're at 99%. 99% say they feel seen, heard, and valued. And most of those are strongly agree, not just agree, strongly agree. And we simply have this model. We kick it off at the beginning, we have it, but it's set up where people feel seen, heard, and valued. And it's 99% yeah.
That's great. That's great. How many schools do you do this with currently?
We're training, so Walla Walla, Washington Public Schools, they've done 2 already. We trained their team, a family school community team, and that was a district team. And then Grapevine Coleyville has done 1. We trained their family school community engagement team. And our training is virtual. They've done 1, but theirs was towards the end of the year. And so they're doing, they're continuing that next year. Typically when they train with us, they train for a day, and then they set the first parent camp for about 8 weeks out. And then they're just rolling after that every 6 to 8 weeks. We actually say 4 to 8 weeks for the virtual. But yeah, and so we're training a bunch of teams around the nation right now.
You have really uncovered something here. And I hope that there are some researchers that are watching this, because I think if they would dig into the research of what you are uncovering and the way that you're dealing with people, you could change the whole face of education with this. This is deep work. Amazing.
Thank you. We've talked for years till we're blue in the face, and people just go, "Oh, that's nice." And we're like, "What?" So this is family school community collective efficacy. And we know you might be familiar with John Hattie. teacher collective efficacy has the biggest impact on student achievement? Well, family engagement under John Hattie is only, I think, 0.51, but that's from a compliance model of family engagement, right? So we're looking at the parent camp model, which is quality conditions plus purpose. What would be the impact of that? So we are talking with researchers. We're looking to help schools do their own research to show growth with their own people, right? But also to feed into that nationwide and beyond research piece about this model, and what you can do. Yeah. So thank you.
Amazing.
It's very wonderful. Now, how can schools get started if they want to really make this change?
The first thing I would recommend is to come to a Wednesday night virtual parent camp, which is our model classroom in it. Come to that and see how it feels, right? And see what you think about it. And then the next step would be to go onto our website. We have like a services page. You can fill out the contact page and we'll set up, we have a Calendly link and we'll set up a time to, just talk about it. And then you can sign up, you can pick a training date, get signed up, pick your, what model of training you want. And then we train on Wednesdays. Right now we're training through the summer on Wednesdays and beyond, more days than that. But sign up, get your team together, 8 to 10 people, family, school, and community. And then we walk you to and through your first virtual parent camp. Like we don't leave your side. We're by you the whole way because we know that this is a scary thing. Like family engagement there's a lot of, what we help people do is move from that feeling of family engagement is scary. It's anxiety ridden. It's boring. It's meaningless, right? You know what I'm saying? Kind of like it doesn't go anywhere and it's irrelevant, right? It's just for what the school wants. Nobody wants it. And educators didn't choose to have all the power. Educators don't like it either. Like, it's not like they're trying to take the power. I want to make sure that's clear. But we help them move from that to experiencing family engagement as joyous, meaningful, relevant, resilience building, health and well-being building. So that's what we help people experience, to change the lived experience and the outcomes.
So I wonder if it's not necessarily then that the schools need to initiate with you. I can imagine that PTAs or education foundations, perhaps they could be the initiators of this. And I think it would even heighten the fact that we're all equals in this. It would kind of mimic what you do.
Yeah, we encourage anybody, like we would love to talk to anyone about it. And we have. They usually reach out. So the schools typically start it. Like they have the team, but sometimes they don't know about it. And when you have families or people from the outside coming in and say, hey, look at this with us, right? That is so powerful. You are right. And I wanted to tag on to this, so we took this model and we believe that it's applicable far beyond parent camp, just like what we're talking about today. So we turned a career fair on its head. So we did a career camp, right, with the digital media industry in Kansas City. So we had family, school, and community in the rooms. We had an educator as the lead facilitator with 2 digital media or more experts from Kansas City, and then family, school, and community in the rooms. So it was dialogue with kids and digital media industry. And we also did an industry camp with the digital media industry in Kansas City. And the big outcome of that was the digital media people were so happy to be together, and they have the similar problems that we have in education of the silos, right? They came together, felt good. But what we were so surprised about is they were so excited to work with the educators more in the future. They're like, we want to help the educators because we know and the educators are like, we don't really know what to do because, we're not with you and you're not with us. So that was a huge, huge piece. You can apply this to anything. Once you know this model, you can apply it in curriculum. So much. You can start bringing curriculum in, but you can feed all those things in, all those nonprofits that want to help people that are always trying to get connected. They can feed into this energy system of the parent camp, and it flows.
I love energy system. That's great.
You made me think of something. I know this is a parent camp, but our students who are also stakeholders in the community, are they ever involved as well? Like a community camp?
A great question. I'm glad you brought it up because that takes me back to that topics list. And I don't think I ever finished that. Student voice and students being involved, it comes up every single week when we say, what do you want to talk about in the future? People are like, what about kids? So parent camp, our tagline is family, school, community engagement model, right? So it's not just parents, right? But that is a huge theme that keeps coming up. So we've had students as the co-facilitators, we've had student topics, absolutely bring kids in. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I can see how that would really make a lot of sense and bring so much value.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. We love to hear what the students are thinking. That is for sure. How can people get a hold of you? What's your website?
So it's parentcamp.org. And we're on Twitter and Facebook at Parent Camp on both of those. And we've on our website, there's a contact page. If you want to, just talk to us at all, like we have a Zoom, we'll talk with you 30 minutes on Zoom and just kind of, share what we've got and share with you some stories. We do have a page, which maybe we can put link down here, of people from different parent camps, like Parent Camp Walla Walla, talking about their experience. So it's not just us talking about it, but actually people that have gone through, so after every parent camp, we're helping schools pull out stories from all voices, family, school, community, student. So we're working on getting that process going to help schools get those positive, really design those positive community narratives. It is possible. It is possible. I'm telling you, it feels so good.
Oh, it's amazing work that you're doing. Just amazing.
Thank you. I want to invite people on to our virtual parent camps that we do every other Wednesday to just come see for yourself. It's every other Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific for 1 hour.
And they would go to your website to get information on that.
You got it.
Very
or
good.
On Twitter, we put it on Twitter, we put it all over the place. But yeah, you just register and then show up for that hour and you can see what it's like, what it feels like, and see, okay, is this worth, is this worth my time? What do I think about it? And that's the most important part.
That is a great idea. I love that.
And then we talked earlier, we would love to continue with a Clubhouse conversation on this. So we'll watch for that too. That'll be a lot of fun as well.
I'm looking forward to that. Yes.
So we're just going to wrap it up with lightning round questions. It's like a minute or less. We're always talking about the pandemic. And so what do you know now that you wish that you had known before the pandemic?
Slow down and slow down. You don't have to do everything, right? It's not external, it's internal, and focused on other people and not doing things, right? That's really been my locus of control in me has really deepened. And I've heard that from other people too, just not trying to do too much. I don't need to do everything, right? Right? Slow down, focus, enjoy life, enjoy the present here and now. I think that's been a huge gift for me.
So our next one is, what learning are you doing this summer for work or pleasure?
Well, let's see. For pleasure, I'm working on my drawing skills for sketchnoting. I'm working on that from somebody who used to draw the sun and label it on the board for kids because they didn't know if they could tell when it was, right? So it's really possible I've made huge strides. Anyway, so I'm working on that for pleasure. And then I'm taking a course from Dr. Dan Siegel. It's called Interpersonal Neurobiology. And it really digs into, it's again, it kind of speaks to parent camp, but it's the integration piece in our bodies. I have a, childhood trauma background. So just, it's part of my growth, but it also feeds into, everything that, we want to help the world and help people. And so that feeds into the model as well. So that's what I'm taking right now.
Pretty deep. Yes. Jamie, you want to ask that last question?
Sure. What is your favorite tech tool? or even a website that
Ooh.
has impacted you positively?
My favorite tech tool that I would recommend for family engagement, but more than that, is loom.com. And Loom, educators get a free pro account, and you can send video messages to families, to kids, and the thing is, when we've done the emailing parents thing and throwing information out, right? There's no humanity in it.
No, and you can't sense the tone.
There's no humanity.
Yeah.
So if you take Loom and you record a short video, only positive, never like homework's not, positive things, connection pieces. I mean, there's a lot you could do instructionally, but I'm just talking family engagement. You send that and parents flip out. People are like, I've never received one of these. Thank you. Like, then they tell people, but they feel like they feel seen, heard, and valued that you would do that. So imagine as a teacher, if you did one a day or one a week even, and you sent it off, you could contact every parent with a personal piece of you.
Oh, I love that.
I love that too. And it's certainly a takeaway, I think. We weren't able to be in person. So through the pandemic, we had to find another way. And then we realized we still want that human contact, but hey, this is better than those texts or emails, right? Having that face. So that Loom sounds like a perfect solution to that.
Oh, yes. Well, Laura, it has been such a pleasure to have you with us today. And I know that our listeners will want to look up parentcamp.org and get connected with you. You are doing such meaningful work, and it's very deep work. I'm just blown away with everything that you've said today. Really great. So for our listeners out there, we hope that you will check out Parent Camp and do us a favor and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our great episodes. And going forward, we will be having Laura on Clubhouse. So we hope that our listeners will check us out there where they can be part of the dialogue, right?
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
So
it's the model.
That's right. So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I so enjoyed this. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening. And if you would like to stay linked up, be sure to follow us on Apple and Spotify and subscribe to us on YouTube.